Hello, hello. Let's get that audio check out the way and get this started. Again, beautiful sunny day, but my bandwidth is kind of low. Just the way it is. I'm probably going to have to get a whole nother Wi-Fi on my property. The Wi-Fi I have on my property is on the other side. It just doesn't seem to be strong way over here at the studio. I may just get a second one. Sound is great. Thank you. Jessica from Fort Worth. Thank you, moderators. This is going to be a rather deep video. You're going to walk away with something that you can take, that you can utilize today. I'm going to provide you not only the information, but an example out of my own personal life that just unfolded in the last 48 hours. So we've often discussed the world as it is today, why it is the way it is today. Negative default programming, the substrate of negativity that runs through the field, it's undeniable. We don't have to go back and review all that material. But this negative default programming, it absolutely empowers dungeon programming. And this dungeon programming, it's the creation of collective feedback loops. And these feedback loops, which are the result of dungeon programming, are feedback loops in themselves. It's self-perpetuating. It is because we react instead of create. And constant reaction to external stimuli modifies behavior. Our behavior is the key component here. It's always building for us our reality tunnels. And this entire relationship is the mirror of the divine. It is reflecting back to us as circumstance the very things that we are doing with our avatar, because it's the only language it recognizes. Told you we're getting straight into this video. That coffee's so good. So since we recognize that this is why our world is the way it is, then it's obvious that we must program our informed field to create a personal reset, to have the builder protocols to affect the potentia that's all in the field of this beautiful magical medium, to work in our favor instead of working against us. Our tools in this holofield have never changed. Imagination, intuition, empathy, even humor, because these amplify our thought constructs and they govern our behavior, which are necessary components to the co-creator relationship. We've talked about the co-creator relationship multitudes of times. But to know these from an intellectual standpoint is still disengaged from applications. Unless we review any type of applied methods that we can make this information of utility, then it's just information. It doesn't do you any good to hear it. It just makes you feel good. So this is what this video was about. This is also Archaix 4.0. This is applications. It is taking information that we have accepted to be true by coming in contact with many things that are all axiomatic. Many of the previous Archaix videos have showed from multiple different vantage points all these concepts over and over, and how they fit as pieces to build a whole. In this video, we're going to deal with applications in real time, so that by the end of today, after you've cogitated about what you saw in this video and what you heard me say, because I'm showing video clips, you will be able to personally assess your own situation and figure out how to do exactly what I'm doing in your own life and with equal result. So, in order to begin understanding how these things all fit together through us projected into the construct to reflect back as circumstances what we want and not what we've been going through, we have to understand how the construct receives its communication. This is critical. This is critical and a necessary component to the whole entire interface in the co-creator relationship. How the construct, the simulacrum, how it receives its communication from us, because it's not what you think. The construct is the observer. Think about how many times this symbol has appeared in the occult materials. What is the ultimate symbol for the observer? I'll let you answer that. The construct that we are immersed within is the observer. It is the watcher. It is always observing and recording every single thing we do. It does not at all respond to words. It does not respond to vocabulary. It does not respond to fantasy, desire. 10,000 daydreams cannot affect the field. I've told you, I've given you examples in the past. You know what? Even in her 60s, she's a hot mama. I've never slept with Heather Locklear, but all through the 80s and my teens and in my 20s and the 90s, I sure as hell thought about it. I never affected the field. It never happened. It never happened. So the personal mind, it's the domain of the immortal within, and it is impenetrable to the materium. There can be no crossover between the materium of external experiences outside of us and the immortal within. Our thoughts belong to the oversoul. What we think is solely of our own property. In the materium itself cannot respond just to thought. It doesn't work. You can lay your head down every single night and fantasize about who you want to be in 10,000 days in the future. Those fantasies will remain unchanged. They will have not changed the construct one iota if that's all you did was fantasize. This construct, which we call the simulacrum, this is the key. This is a takeaway you've got to remember. How does the construct receive its communication? It's always watching. It is the divine watcher. It is the mirror of the divine. The construct is always only watching itself. Some of you are real confused, but I know some of you just had an aha moment because I've told you about the avatar and what it really is. It doesn't belong to you. You are not your avatar. The construct, it responds only to itself. It's always observing everything in the field. And some of the things that it's observing in the field are the very avatars immortals are wearing inside the construct. And the only way that the construct itself can ever understand the trajectory of a soul is by whatever that soul is doing with its avatar. Because the avatar is a borrowed phenomenon. It does not belong to the immortal within. It belongs to the construct. Your body is made up of the materium. The construct itself is observing other aspects of itself as it learns more about us. This is the mystery of the construct avatar relationship. This is what makes your world what it is today. This is just the introduction, guys. Oh, thank you, sunshine. It is sunny today, too, no doubt. Remember, key component. How does the construct receive its communication from us? Also, the construct can only ever observe itself. Even though there may be 17 million immortals or whatever number are in the construct at any given time, those immortals are invisible to the construct. It can only know what they're doing by their behavior. Their behavior is ascertained by what they're doing with the parts of the construct they are borrowing for the utility of their passage. The avatar, the body. And the key to construct navigation, to the cessation, the stopping of providing energy to the feedback loops of dungeon programming is simply the pattern break. This is how a soul switches off from being reactive to all external stimuli, which are all in the field and produced by the construct. This is how the switch is made, the pattern break, to where an immortal within, using a piece of the construct, actually becomes a powerhouse of divine creativity. This is what you're going to take away from this video. So, it was a while back. It was a good 5 years ago. I was living in Splendora, Texas, and I was living in a part of the house that wasn't being renovated. And I did a ritual, because even then I understood we lived in a magical medium. And with almost no money to my name, living out of a backpack, My only way of getting around was a motorcycle I bought from when I was working in oil and gas, and I had had enough. Big John, Big John was working at the same oil and gas facility as I was, and one day I walked off the facility, and he had asked me, because I had to pass his work area, and he had asked me, "Man, what happened today? What was going on? We seen you walk off," and I just told him, "I'm done. I've done everything that I came to do here. This isn't my life. I'm done." So I had made an executive decision that I was no longer going to work in the oil and gas industry. And I had no way of making money. I totally leapt out there in faith. I had nothing to my name. And I decided, this is it. This is what I'm going to do. And I did it. And I'm living in a house that is owned by Big John's family in Splendora, Texas. And the room I was living in was the best room in the house. And John and I spent some weeks, maybe a month or two, refurbishing the house, going room to room, just doing different stuff. And I lived there for like 6 months. And this is 5 years ago, before I started my YouTube channel. And I'm doing YouTube video. Well, I'm doing videos. I hadn't even uploaded any of them to YouTube yet. I'm just doing little videos on my tablet. That's all I have, is a phone and a tablet. And I'm doing videos, and many of you who have been with me for a long time saw. A lot of them are in the members only now, because I've redone those videos and put them in the montage playlist. But a lot of them are older videos where you can hear the chickens and the cows and the dogs and cars and traffic. And in one of those videos, I was burning a lamp, an old antique oil lamp. And I just felt compelled one day, and I decided I was going to write down my future on a piece of paper. And I did that. And once it was on a piece of paper, I folded it up. And I just thanked the Oversoul. Thank you for giving me that idea. And I looked at the lamp, and I took the glass cover off the lamp, and I told the Oversoul in the dark, I don't need this paper anymore. I said, as a matter of fact, I'm going to give it back to you. And I burned the piece of paper up, and I thanked the Oversoul for allowing all this to come to pass. And on that piece of paper, I had put a lot of things, such as my future. I didn't know YouTube was going to be the future. I just wanted to get all the research I'd done in prison and get it out there. YouTube wasn't even on the menu yet. But one of the things that was that I wanted to build a company so I could eventually get my research out there. I didn't even know what the name of the company was going to be yet, but I was going to just start with general landscaping and stonescaping. And I put in there that I probably need about $1,200 worth of tools. And I put that on the piece of paper, just $1,200. And I'm going to need that first. And I basically told the Oversoul, need that first in order to get everything rolling. And I'll do the work. I just need a little help here and there. Well, weeks earlier, I had put an ad out on Craigslist, because it's like the only free advertising you can get around there. I wasn't even on Facebook back then. And I put the ad on I helped you I put the ad on there that I was just willing to do whatever work, but it wasn't specific. I didn't say anything in the ad weeks earlier, because I'm just on a motorcycle in a backpack doing odd jobs for people. Sometimes a fence company would holler at me when they needed an extra man. I go out there and help do fences. So whatever it was. And anyway, I'd put this $1,200 on there was needed to buy tools to start whatever company I was going to do. It was very general, but the feeling had welled up in me that it was time for a change. That's why I walked right off the facility. It just happened. It's done. I'm done. I made that decision. I totally broke pattern. And it was a hell of a pattern break, because for 6 months, working 7/12s, 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, just going. going and making money. And I just decided, you know what, I'm done. Well, the next morning, I got up, I looked at my phone, and I had a message. I had a Craigslist email message, and a lady, I can't remember the name of the town, but it was near Splendora, about 20 minutes to the north. Cold Spring, a lady in Cold Spring, Texas, responded to my Craigslist post overnight that I had posted weeks earlier. And it wasn't even about rocks and gardening and all that. It was just general. If you got any projects you have, you need a strong back, help you out for a day or two. I'm able. Well, I'll be damned. This is 5 years ago, before my YouTube channel. And she said she wanted some help, and she had already had 2 dump trucks dump all the garden rock, white caliche rock and some river stones in 2 separate piles. But she needed somebody just to mule the rock, from one area of the yard on her driveway all the way to her gardens and put it where she wanted. And when I saw the 2 huge piles, these are dump trucks. We're talking about 6-7 yards of rock. It's a tremendous amount of rock in each pile. So I just told her straight up. I says, you know what? For the first day, I believe I can get one whole pile done in one day. That's all I'm going to do all day is just move this one pile to all these garden areas. He says, I'm going to charge you $600 for that. And then when I come back tomorrow, I'll do the other pile. And when I'm done, you can pay me the other $600. And she says, cool. That's very reasonable. It was a lot of work, guys. It was hot outside too, but I'm going to do it. And before lunch, I had looked at my phone and I had $1,200 in my PayPal. I didn't have any money in my PayPal the day before, but I had $1,200 in my PayPal. This is within 18 hours or so of me doing the ritual with the lamp and thanking the oversoul for burning up the paper because it was no longer needed anymore because this is already written into the field. It's just a matter of when it's going to happen now. And I told this story 2 or 3 times in my early years on let me tell you what this $1,200 did. She accidentally sent me $600 twice. I wasn't supposed to get the other $600 till the day after, but she accidentally sent it twice, and I confronted her about it before I left. I finished one pile, $600 worth of work, and I showed her my phone. I says, "You've already paid me the other $600 for tomorrow," and it surprised her. She's like, "Oh, I didn't know that." I said, "Yeah, you must have hit it twice, send twice, because it sent me 2 $600 payments back to back." So she was really surprised. I went back the next day and I did a lot more work. Didn't quite finish, but still, I got the $1,200 within 24 hours of doing that ritual. And it was so matter of fact in my mind, almost no emotional involvement whatsoever. It was just something I did, wrote it into the field, done. Probably read a book that night, I can't remember, and then turned around and woke up the next morning, checked my messages, and there it was. And then went to actually move my avatar to go do the work. I discussed what the price was. When I saw these mountains of rock, I put a $600 price tag on each one, but I had no way of making her pay me $1,200 in one day. I didn't even ask for it. It just happened. So let me I'm going to share my screen here in a minute before I'm going to show you some profound things, and I'm going to lay it all out for you guys, exactly how you program your field. Let me tell you what that $1,200 did. That little ritual with the lamp ended up being something amazing, because it started a domino effect that could not stop. Big John was for a while. Big John was in on it too. He ended up going to work for an automobile dealership after that, but he was there from the very beginning when this new company, Paradise Rock Gardens, just took off. Job after job after job after job. It almost got to the point where I never had to advertise because word of mouth had us working far more than we were capable of fulfilling the contracts. This went on for 3.5 years as I built my Archaix channel. So let me, real quick, I'm going to show you guys what this $1,200 did. It was an arbitrary number. I just made it up. So, all right. Well, I can't find it now. Hold on. What happened here? I went over from Bing to Google. I don't know why it's all of a sudden took me off Bing and now I'm back on Google again. I don't know. Never mind. I'm not going to show it to you. The site I might have quit paying for the site. I don't remember. I just showed it in a video like 6 months ago. A lot of you have seen the work on Paradise Rock Gardens. I don't know why it's not showing up now. Maybe it will. Hold on, I'm going through a different server. I no longer do that company anymore, so I'm not surprised. Just a second. All right, so I really don't know why. Okay, my products, there it is. I have to go into my GoDaddy settings and go actually look to see if that website's even online still. I haven't done the company in a while. Some of you probably already looked it up. I don't know what GoDaddy Arrow is. I guess it's got an AI. Since I've been on the GoDaddy side, they got an AI down now. Man, everybody's doing that crap. Why is this taking forever to look up something so simple that normally took one click? All right, so let me show it to you. I'm going to share my screen. And then we'll get off into this video. All right. All this is work that I actually did. I flagstone swimming pools, flagstone back patios, verandas, gazebos. I built entire back decks of nothing but stonework, flagstone. I did decorative fire pits. This is what I did. I flagstone driveways and even drove. That's my van right now. This is back when it was a contractor van. I even drove my van full of flagstone. I have pictures on this website that are full of 5,000 pounds of flagstone inside that van, 2 pallets full, and drove over my product just to prove that it wouldn't develop stress fractures. I use super thick flagstones and tensile hardeners in my mortars. Here's pink flagstone back porch. A back porch extension. They didn't want any grass in their backyards. Look, this is massive flagstone projects. Sometimes took a week, 2 weeks, 3 and 4 guys. A lot of these are simple. This is softscape. This is all softscape here. Yeah. I'm not going to go into all that. Custom driveways, driveway extensions. People don't like getting out of their car and stepping into wet grass. So we would put these driveway extensions. 3.5 years, this is the type of work I did. If somebody could imagine it, we built it. Look at that. That is a double-wheeled wheelbarrow. That's a heavy-duty, that's a huge wheelbarrow. Look at the size of that fire pit. I built gas fire pits, just like this one on the far right. Planters, irrigation. Yeah, well, this is what I did. This is what I did for 3.5 years. Here's just a regular paver, a paver patio. 3.5 years, this is what I did to survive, pay my bills, build capital, and at the same time, I was releasing 300 Archaix videos every other night when I came home exhausted after work. And when John and JR and we were done working, we would go on they would go do their things, and I would be working on Archaix videos. And like you guys know, I had 300 videos before I even had 1,000 subs. I had 400 videos before I ever even did a live video. All of them were just data uploads. I'm not going to click onto all these because each one of these clicks on to a whole gallery showing a whole bunch of other pictures. Yeah, my website's still up. Let me get out of there. Yeah, let's see. Stop my screen. I'm going to check my chat before we continue. About to show you guys a video clip. So, listen, I have never, ever in my life run away from work, even in oil and gas. I was 44, 45, and 46 years old on pipe yards that were being run by 18, 19, 20, and 21-year-olds because they were the only ones that could take that heat. Pipe yards in Texas summer, every piece of metal in the pipe yard is radiating 110, 120 degrees. They just get hotter and hotter and hotter and hotter and hotter in that sunlight. I've never been afraid of work. I can be a workaholic, which leads us to something. Some of you guys are really going to be disturbed by what you see, but you got to look at things from a more spiritual perspective. It's the materium in us that responds in this way. But I spent over a decade of my life on another project. And the ritual that I did with the lamp and that piece of paper, I've done something manifold more powerful now. I'm going to show it to you. I closed a very, very long and very important chapter of my life. In a way, for a couple of hours, I was even kind of overwhelmed that I had done this, but I'm going to show you now. I'm going to show you now what it is, how I am recharging. I've already recharged my field because I have taken something that spent over a decade of solid work, and I have given it back to the field. The materium has collected it back. However, all of the energy that I expended in over a decade of imagination, thinking, writing, putting all these things together, conceptualizing, all this work, that energy is still in the field. It's still charged in the field. But the material aspects of all that work were still in my possession, but they were doing nothing for me. So I gave them back to the construct with specific instructions through a very similar ritual to take all that momentum and all that energy, all that will, all that life force that I had invested in this project and transfer it all into Archaix. Let me show you what I did. Share my screen. Here is my other channel on YouTube. This is my other channel as it existed on YouTube yesterday before I deleted all the videos. It has over 6,000 subs, but we need to go back. In February of 2009, in my 6th year on maximum security, I was caught with a cell phone, and I was given 7 years stacked on my sentence by Texas. I could have been out in 2010, but a cell phone got me 7 years. A whole bunch of people got caught with cell phones, and they never got in trouble. They never got in time. I know guys that got caught with a bunch of them, but they singled me out and they gave me 7 years. They ran me to Karnes County, went before a judge, and they stacked 7 years on the sentence I was already doing in Texas. So I was sent back to close custody, and with so much time on my hands, I spent about 2,000 days putting together an entire fantasy world. I wrote a glossary. It was full of all the terms, the idioms, the places, place names, geographical monikers, colloquials, everything, all the different types of races, personal pronouns, everything in this world. I had designed an entire compendium, alphabetized. I made up a huge anthology of legends and myths, all belonging to this world. I designed totally new fairy races, human cultures, demons, and creatures, and populated this entire world that I had built on paper. Many of you have listened to the videos of the Phaelorn Saga, and they have, and they were based off the numerous short stories in the 7 dark fantasy novels that I wrote when I was in prison on maximum security after I realized I had at least 7 more years to do. So my story, the Phaelorn Saga, was about the end of the fairy races, of all fairy kind apocalypse. A fairy kind apocalypse unfolding as humans multiplied against them, and the return of something called the broken moon that would collapse the phenomenon of magic and make it very hard for the fairies to survive. I drew maps of regions, continents, cities. I created an immense and ancient world, and even designed a chronicon of 10,000 years of events leading up to the story itself. So you could have the background stories of all the characters, situations, all the different lands, all the different fairy races, who they were, and how they got to this point when the story started. This chronology, full of codes and ciphers that readers could puzzle out when recognizing clues in the actual chapters of the books. I had folders packed with biographical, physical details of every character, race, and figure in the stories. Maps with charted coordinates for the navigators, in the story, and for the readers themselves to examine and deduce where key locations were before actual characters in the story even figured these things out. Codes and ciphers packed through all of my written material, because the Phaelorn Saga was about the world of Dagathar, and it was my dark fantasy version of our own world and situation. I spent years developing this world, designing each scene in old taverns and rotting forests, the lower levels of populated fantasy cities, and old forests full of different elven kind creatures. I designed and mapped out over 100 stores, shops, citadels, bridges, fortifications, keeps, dungeons, and designed fleets of vessels for each river, each sea and ocean. Days of building a world with a haunting story turned into months in Texas prison, and then years, resulting with binders full of thousands of pages, all cross-referenced with notations as to where each fragment, each dialogue, each scene unfolded in the timeline of the narrative. I drafted hundreds of quotes and made up hundreds of citations from old spell books and annals. The worlds of ancient wise men and kings, regnal lists. I even had a notebook full of laws, legislation, creeds, and traditions of all the races in the wood of those cities. I did work on par with J.R.R. Tolkien. You would not believe the amount of notes. You'll see some of them here. This is what I did in Texas prison when I was sent to the dungeon in 2009. I lived and breathed a fantasy world of my own creation when I wasn't reading and studying historical books. I got up and I made my coffee every morning. I did my push-ups, I did my stretches, my calisthenics, I washed my face, I brushed my teeth, and then I sat down and I wrote, imagined, drafted, sketched, and built the Phalorn Saga. An ancient world about to be reset by the broken moon. And about the fairies, the Phalorn, who would lose their powers and their garden world to this destructive moon, giving humans all the advantages. Upon my release, I had Chronicon of Dagathar published, the Chronicon of my epic fantasy series, and spent almost all of 2017 under house arrest after my release from prison in 2016 in December. I spent all of 2017 going through all my prison notes and typing them up into Microsoft Word files that you just saw in the video here. Many of the things that I never even got around to typing up are right here. I'm flipping through them right now on the screen. Seven books, all in Microsoft Word files, all edited. I have paid 2 different typists to help with the material because it is so massive. Actually, recently a 3rd typist, but she never really got much done. In 2018 and 2019, I spent thousands getting hundreds of pages of my story notes typed and edited when all day I was working oil and gas. So my life was poured into these stories. They occupied thousands of hours, and even after my release, they were much part of my life. Even when I was free, working in pipe yards or doing mill work at the Vulcan facilities and even CNC pipe threading, my mind was still creating. I was still thinking, imagining new material, and I would write things down and put pieces of paper in my pocket. When I go home from work and shower, I'd take those fragments of paper out and those notes and those ideas, and I would add them and incorporate them into my binders wherever they would fit. But over the past few years, the Phalorn Saga was shelved more and more as I built Archaix, as I continued my research. I carried on in publishing, and recently, events in my life forced me to closely examine my present coordinates in the field, my trajectory, and how these stacked up against my goals. After a few days of some rather grueling realizations, only made about 4 days ago, I knew that my own creativity had introduced an unnecessary barrier to my further development. In fact, about 300 pages of my notes were recently held captive by someone who took them from someone else I had entrusted them with. And this person sought to use those notes as leverage against me for something they want. And you can imagine how I felt with years of my life poured into this project, to be so casually just kept in the possession of someone who was angry at me for imagined trespasses. And the loss of those 300 pages would have been a total catastrophic end to the Phalorn Saga anyway, because those are the notes for books 7, 8, and 9. I would have never recovered from that loss anyway. But there were developmental notes, very detailed for the final books. But this dark situation, it kind of weighed on my soul for a couple of days, and then I just gave it up. I just gave it to the oversoul. I said, man, what? To even be put into such a position, it's an eye-opening affair. Instead of problem solving or conflict resolution, I saw something else in the field. I'm like, it took this situation for me to break free from the powerful hold of my own creation, my own writings, my own notes, my own novels, my own illustrations that I did for the fantasy world. Guys, I just let go. I just let go. Like you saw in the video here, I deleted all the files, all the illustrations, all the videos, all the images, all the notes, everything. I had about 1,000 pages of notes, not yet on computer files, and I burned them on my property. I then went to my Phalorn Saga channel and I deleted every single one of those videos. I no longer possess anything. Even the published books I had on my shelf, they went into the can. Gone. All the charts, I let go. But I didn't do it in vain. I didn't do it in vain. On one of those pieces of paper you see me burning, I wrote that I am relinquishing all of this part of my life and any power it holds on me in exchange for all of that energy that I put into the field and the creation of, and all this work and all this hope and all these things that I had introduced into my life and into my informed field over a 10-year period, putting this whole world that I had built together. That energy is still in the field. So I simply ask the Oversoul, just change its trajectory. That energy is no longer attached to something that is dead to me. And that since I am alive, that energy needs to fuel my current trajectory and where I am. That piece of paper, I wrote down that I discharge all of this material stuff back into the materium. But what belongs to me in the field gets redirected back into Archaix. One of those pieces of paper that burned up, that can is my new lamp. It's been 5 years since I did that little ritual. So on that paper that I burnt in the fire, I wrote to the Oversoul that I'm ready to go to the next level, whatever that path may be. I let go of the Phalorn Saga, of those years of work. I let go of all the remorse, regret, even the nostalgia. That has no power over me. There's no regret at all. So this is how I charged my field. And I've been feeling it since the day before yesterday. I have been feeling this vibrating of my soul. Sometimes we have to take those things that we think are the most cherished things in our life, and we have to let go. Give back to the materium that which belongs to the construct. But everything that was created in the field, in doing all this, still belongs to you. And all that energy can be redirected. So when confronted with a dark situation using my own property against me, my soul responded with the solution. How to turn a negative into a positive. And what I did, all can do. Anybody can do what I did. You need to find what holds you back, and you need to break free from it. Breaking free is done by letting go. Now, I mean, look at, I mean, oh, my video feeds off. Listen, now I have another channel with 6,100 subs. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but it's there. What an interesting opportunity. So what I'm saying is that it's whatever your cherished thing is, an activity, a possession, whatever it is, the more you analyze how it serves you and how it doesn't serve you, will better help you make a decision about what to do with it. I came to the conclusion that I do not have to build a magical world. I'm already living in one. And that changes everything. If I'm going to believe that I'm existing now in a magical medium that responds to everything that I do, not what I say, not what I think, not what I fantasize about, but it responds with everything that I do. And then it receives that as a projection. It's the mirror of the divine. So it begins to reflect back as circumstances what it thinks my avatar is trying to do next. It's world building. It is the co-creator relationship. Remember, you don't have to have an accurate method. The Chinese said it best. When the right man makes use of the wrong means still work in the right way. Yeah, it's because it's never about a procedure. It's not about the ritual. It's not about the method. It's not about astrology. It's not about tarot. It's not about tea leaves. It's not about any type of divination. It is always about the immortal within. If the immortal within decides that there is a method, then that method becomes a tangible reality to that immortal. But those rules are not imposed on another immortal. Every single one of us are the immortal within. And the rules and the laws that we make for ourselves only apply to ourselves, because the construct is going to reflect back as circumstances whatever it sees each individual piece of the construct to be doing. And each little piece of the construct is actually totally wrapped around an immortal within. It's watching itself, and it's self-regulatory. And as long as it always treats every single soul as an individual, then there can be just as many worlds here as there are individual souls building them. The construct is for the collective, and the collective follows protocols of dungeon programming, which fall into feedback loops which self-perpetuate. But the immortal within, the highly individualized soul, can build worlds within worlds and coexist with the collective with almost no contact. This is what we do. And if there is anything that you have done in the past for which you are passionate about, which you have charged the informed field with, that energy is never lost. It's always there. You may not have access to it because of what you're presently doing, but it's always there. Proof that that energy is always in your field are from collapse discontinuities. When your behavior all this feels like it's going uphill. Everything you're doing is going uphill and uphill, and nothing's ever working. And then one day you wake up and everything's going right. Everything's fine. The expenditure of even minimal energy has maximum results. It's because for some reason you tapped back into an event trajectory, a reality tunnel that you have previously been on, but you jumped track. And for a while, it's all uphill and everything's terrible. But something happened in the deprogramming, the defrag state, REM, when you, by virtue of the central nervous system, are jacked back into the construct itself through sleep. When the avatar is charged by the construct, the immortal within goes somewhere else. It's called the dream state. You're gone. Whatever the interaction is between the construct and the avatar, it happens in REM sleep. But when that soul came back the next day, it was back on the original track. It jumped tracks right back onto the reality tunnel where energy was moving with you based off past activities you have already done in that trajectory. We do this all the time. It happens all the time. You just have to learn to recognize it when it's happening to you. Anything you have ever attempted to accomplish in the past created energy. That energy is still in the field. Therefore, there's never a time when you really have to start from scratch. I'm not starting from scratch. I didn't. I wrote that on a piece of paper. That was my avatar doing something in the field that can be understood by the construct. I wrote it on a piece of paper, folded it, and I put it inside that stack. I didn't want to know where in the stack it was when I started throwing it in that fire. I didn't even want to know. I just know that those flames was the materium taking that back and discharging all that energy of the past, which belongs to me. All the creative expenditure in putting all that together is in the field, and it can be harnessed and utilized in a totally different direction. And that's all I ask the Oversoul to do. That it's no longer attached to anything. That energy is always attached to something, but it's not attached to the Phalorn saga because I discharged it. It's gone. And I redirected all that energy into Archaix. Remember this video. I don't know exactly what the product of this is going to be. All I know is that I have 100% faith in the Oversoul because the Oversoul has never let me down, ever. Even from the first time I burned that piece of paper in that lamp. Set off a series of events that in 5 years I am who I am today, as opposed to a guy living out of a backpack, living on a motorcycle, burning a piece of paper in a lamp just to make a couple bucks. Not that guy anymore. So I want to review what we said earlier. Let's review that real quick. The introduction. For those of you new listeners, I know Archaix veterans understood the introduction, but now having seen this material, having gone through it with me and understanding what I did to discharge material aspects of my life and give it back to the construct materium, and how I've redirected those energies, which are eternal, they never end. I have redirected those energies into something else. So we have to understand the world as it truly is. It's negative default programming. Like I said, a substrate of negativity it's just enough negative everywhere, not quite to be positive. It's not a 50-50 deal, good and evil, positive and negative. It's not. The construct does have just a modicum more of negativity. This is what I call negative default programming. And it empowers dungeon programming, which creates feedback loops because we react to external stimuli. Instead of being proactive, our default mode is reactive. The entire world is an obstacle course full of moving phenomena that cause us to react. It's all designed that way. And because we react instead of create, it creates for us behavioral patterns which reinforce programming. And this is always building our reality tunnels. And then the construct is always reflecting back as circumstance the imposition of more obstacles to cause us to react, because that's what we're doing. We are feeding the very feedback loop that we're trying to get out of. This is the mirror of the divine. It's only giving back to us exactly what we're doing. Since we recognize that this is why our world is the way it is, then it's very obvious that we must reprogram our world, our informed field. Remember what the informed field is. It is the sum total of every thought, every experience, everything you've ever come into contact with, every suspicion, every activity, everything you've ever accomplished, not accomplished, everything in your experience as an immortal within, since you have been adorned in this avatar. Your informed field has all of that. It's all there. You can call it soul memory, soulic memory. You call it whatever you want. But the informed field is what animals react to. The informed field is what nature reacts to, because animals and nature and other people are often just a part of the construct itself. And the construct does what? It watches itself. Why? Because it cannot see you. You are the immortal within, and to the construct, you are an invisible entity. Therefore, it must only observe what you do. How you move a piece of the construct, which is your avatar, which is made of the very same materials as the construct itself, the same mathematical programming, every bit of it. So the construct watches itself to determine your trajectory and build your world accordingly. Since we recognize all this, then we must reprogram our informed field to create a personal reset, to have the builder protocols affect the potentia that's all in the field, because everything, I say this a lot, every single moment is pregnant with possibility. The potentia, a physics term, meaning we are in a mathematical field that is non-local. Being non-local means it has all the probabilities coexisting at the exact same time. They're all there. The ultimate builder protocol, it can go in any direction that you want. The problem is fundamental programming dictates we've been following our entire life actually keep us from being the co-creator. We have been so programmed to always be reactive instead of proactive. But potentia in the field shows that this is a magical medium, and it can work in our favor just like it can work against us. It just takes a flip of the switch. You've got to break pattern. And our tools in order to do this in this holo field are imagination, intuition, empathy, even humor. Humor, I'm seeing more and more now that humor is a great tool, because when we go through life amused by what's going on around us, no matter what is actually in the programming around us, if we're amused by it, the construct itself realizes that we are amused by our behavior, and then starts introducing things that we can really be amused by. And it softens all the darkness that's around us and allows us to see from a totally different perspective. Humor is magical. It's also very infectious. Humor is neutralizing negative default programming. So these things, imagination, intuition, empathy, and humor, they amplify our thought. They amplify our thought constructs, which modify our behavior. Our behavior is whatever we're doing with our avatar. Our avatar is in a avatar constructual relationship. The construct is always watching itself to figure out what kind of reality tunnel it's going to build for each individual piece of itself, even though we occupy it. This is the key to the co-creator relationship. The construct is the observer, and it does not respond to words, to fantasy, or desire. Remember, 10,000 different daydreams, or 10,000 times you embark on the same daydream will never affect the field. The personal mind is the domain of the immortal within, and it is impenetrable to the materium. The construct, what I call the simulacrum, it only responds to itself. This is the mystery of the construct avatar relationship, and this is what makes your world what it is today. And the key to construct navigation to the ending of present scenarios for which you do not want to experience, of providing energy to the feedback loops of dungeon programming, is simply breaking pattern. That's the key to construct navigation. Break pattern. This is how a soul switches off from being reactive to external stimuli, and thus turns into a powerhouse of divine creativity. The power is always going to be in the individual. It's never going to be in the system. There is no system. There is no system anywhere in the field, even ritual. There is no system that possesses truth. Truth only comes from the immortal within. It is a true saying that we create our own truths. It is a true saying to a degree. I mean, there are many things that I've got a whole video on axioms. There are things that are axiomatic. They are true for every single soul inside the construct. But then there are subjective truths. This is the magical area of potential where an immortal within can build an entire world within a world. And that's the conclusion I came to. I don't need to build a magical world in the realm of a magical kingdom called Dagathar for imaginary races and all that. I don't need to do that. I live in a magical world, and I need to focus on this world and trying to bring as many souls out of the mire as possible. This is where my talents really need to be expended. So I discharged all that back into the materium. So you need to figure out, what is it in your life that has been holding you back, that keeps defaulting you back into the materium because it's something that you think that you need to possess or accomplish, but it doesn't really serve you. Giving it up is not giving up the energy that was attached to it. Giving it up is not giving up all the expenditure, everything, your life force that you put into it. That can be reinvested elsewhere. What's in the field stays in the field. It's not going to dissipate. It's the beauty of a hologram. Once information is introduced into a holographic structuring, it's somewhere in the structuring, and it can be seen from multiple different vantage points. But this is what you need to decide in your own personal life. What is it that you're chained to that you actually have convinced yourself is a part of you? Something that you're trying to accomplish, or something that you're holding on to, and you need to discharge it. That discharge is a massive pattern break, and it will get the construct's attention. Why? Because the construct is always paying attention to itself. Your decision is going to be reflected in the behavior of your avatar. And the avatar is what? A part of the construct. A whole new feedback loop is created. But this one is generative. Now, because you're not being reactive to an ideal, reactive to a goal, reactive in following pre-programmed routines, trying to accomplish whatever it is that you're attached to. Now, you can let it go. You can tell the oversoul to put all that energy into something else that does have meaning to you. Because if something doesn't happen really easily for you, then there's something wrong. There's an impediment, and it's always self-created. The Phaelorn saga wasn't easy at all. I struggled for a decade to put this. I lost a decade of my material life putting all this together, but I don't count it as a loss anymore because the energy has been redirected. It's been totally redirected. So you have to find the things in your life that keep you down, that keep you back, that keep you from moving forward in a trajectory that you want to move in, and you have to actively discharge whatever that is. I don't know on an individual level what this could be for you, but you do. Or by the end of the day, you should have a really good idea of what some of you only have something small. It could be something very large in your life. It could be something staring you in the face. It could be a project you've been working on for 5 years and you have put $50,000 and still nothing's happening for you. Remember, in the co-creative relationship, we're architects, not the builders. If you think you have to build, then the construct itself is going to make it necessary for you to build whatever it is you had imagined. That's not how the co-creator relationship works. The architect thinks things into existence and then initiates the project by delegation and by moving the avatar in the direction of whatever it is. And then the construct sees the trajectory and then builds that world. If you think you have to build it yourself, there's a problem. I don't want to drag this video out any longer than necessary, or sit here and try to rehash a whole bunch of the things that we have talked about in the Immortals playlist ad nauseum. I just want to close with one thing that you really need to process, and that's worry, anxiety. These negative emotions neutralize anything positive you've put out there to whatever those negative emotions are attached to. Worry is soul suicide. To break free, you have to move into uncharted domains with excitement and with the will to experience new things and have no regret. Like me, Phaelor Saga's out of my field. It's done. Done. You've got to have no regret and just move forward. And that's how you're going to see that this world that we call the materium isn't really material at all. It's magical. And however it is that you put your ritual together, it's just communication between the construct and your avatar. Me, I chose twice to write down on a piece of paper and burn it and giving it back to the field. Whatever you choose your activity to be will be honored by both the construct and the oversoul. There is no method. It is always the individual and never the system. That's it, guys. I'm keeping this one short. This video does not have to be long. Also, those of you who are still waiting on errant ads, I'm having trouble sorting through the emails. I've been trying to get you guys. If your ad has not shown yet, would you please email me so I can create an individual file for you guys? I've done a whole bunch of them, but I know there's more. I just can't find them. So I need you to remind me that you have an errant ad scheduled for Archaix, and that's it. I got no other really announcements right now. And I'm going to go ahead and hit this outro. And listen, guys, great things are coming for Archaix. I don't know what they are. They're in between the Oversoul and I. But you know what? I'm pretty damn sure you're going to see. You're going to see some pretty quickly how things develop, because that energy was never lost. And I've redirected it into my passion, which is Archaix. Love you guys.